Well, first of all, the first thing that comes to mind that I want to say about that is marriage is for adults, not children.
Love it. I
Marriage
love it.
is for, requires sacrifice and thinking of others as much as you think of yourself.
Yes.
So, although I do understand that the male species, in 98% of cases values freedom over everything else.
After more than 20 years of marriage, we've discovered that most successful couples prioritize great friendships, put each other first, and focus on liking each other just as much as loving each other. We believe marriage should be fun and easy.
Our goal is to share our journey with hopes of helping others build strong, happy relationships. Join us as we continue to create our lives beyond I do.
We are not marriage counselors or mental health professionals.
We are simply sharing with y'all how we have navigated in our marriage.
Now, on with the show.
So we have... I've been so excited. I've been so excited all day.
Yeah.
It's Friday. I'm tired. But on the way home, I was energized because I knew we were about to see Dr. Becky.
Yes.
And I got so excited. I think we need this. We got to make sure that we get some good short form clips going, because people need to understand Dr. Becky.
Boy, look at the nuggets.
She has the spirit of Julia Sugarbaker.
Yes. She got her twang and her.
Yes.
She just comes across so pleasant, but firm.
We'll let you know
and
real quick.
She looked like she'll let you have it.
Yes.
And I love that.
So Dr. Becky is going to talk to us about being a marriage crisis manager.
Yes.
And she helps couples when they are on the ledge, ready to jump.
Yep.
Well, jump or push. So we are so excited to present to you Dr. Becky Whetstone.
All right, let's go. So, Dr. Becky, welcome to the Beyond I Do podcast.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
We're excited.
So could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I am a marriage and family therapist, and I am in private practice, and I've been doing this for over 20 years. This was a second career for me. I went to graduate school in my 40s, and I'm a native of Arkansas. And I've always been obsessed with relationships, but never more so than when I went through my own divorce in 1993. There was something about that scenario that kind of woke me up to want to know more. And so that's what led me to graduate school eventually, was to study marriage and family therapy. Plus, I just wanted to understand relationships in general. So I would say that I am obsessed with relationship dynamics, that I can talk about it day and night. And I've never gotten sick of the subject. And I think, I don't mean to brag, but sometimes I think there's not a question a person could ask me that I couldn't give at least a half intelligent answer to. Because that's how much I've studied it and read about it and all that kind of stuff. Is that bragging? Is that what?
You know what? It's bragging, but you earn the right to brag.
Exactly.
Your blog site is now saved on our bookmarks, and it's right there when we log in, because you have so much, just really good information.
Oh, wow.
So you have every right, and we will brag for you too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Reading through your blogs, it's like, man,
So you have the right to brag.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. I will say, it's most of the stuff that I tell people about is born of pain. Like I am a girl that learned the hard way.
And that's where I was going. You said after your divorce, your first divorce. So if you would, what was it about the divorce that sparked that deep interest in wanting to find out, beyond just wanting to find out kind of what went wrong, but what drove you to that?
I think, part of what drove me crazy is I felt like we were two good people. Smart people. I do think we loved each other, but we just didn't understand relationship dynamics at all. And we were just making terrible mistakes due to ignorance. And we'd go to marriage therapists, but they really didn't help us. I mean, I don't even know what we were doing in there. I don't remember learning one thing in marriage therapists at that time that was extremely helpful for us. And then, so we kept, going and coming back, going and coming back. And then, the last time we went was, I was in a full blown marriage crisis, telling my husband, that's it. I'm at the end of my rope. I can't take it anymore. And I need to get away from you. So we asked the marriage therapist, what can you do for us now? And he said, there's nothing. If you're not motivated to work on your marriage, you need to go off and come back if you get motivated. So two intelligent, good people made the biggest mess of this crisis. And it was like a tornado hit the town. We just tore up our family. And next thing you know, we're divorced and we're both single parents, and our children, suffered. And now I've got like 32 years in hindsight to see how it affected all of us, especially my children. And I just cringe thinking about it. So it just drove me nuts. Like that the therapist, like, what is a marriage therapist for? Like, what are they doing? Why couldn't they help us,
Right.
So when I went to graduate school and I'm taking these classes, I'm seeing, and they're required to teach certain things so that you can call yourself a marriage and family therapist. So to be accredited, you've got to come out of there aware of certain things. And so I learned what they were supposed to teach us, and then the things they didn't teach us that maybe they should have.
Right.
And so I started doing my own independent research. And all during this time, I'm getting individual therapy. I'm attending kind of psychology and kind of Zen and spiritual workshops and stuff. And I'm working it from all sorts of different angles. And that's kind of where I've learned so much over the years, is all the different things I used to educate myself. So the stuff I learned in my own independent research kind of blew me away. And I felt like, and then the style that they teach us to use about how to talk to clients and stuff, I felt was very restricting and not helpful really for couples.
Right.
More validating than anything else, just to say, oh, that must be terrible. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. How difficult. That's not going to get anybody anywhere.
Right.
So, so I just sort of came out of there. And as soon as you get the handcuffs off of you in school with the supervisor staring at you all the time and criticizing you, and you get your license and everything, then you get to go do what you want to do and how you want to do it.
Right.
With the ethical guidelines of your field. Yeah. So I started becoming more of a teacher in my therapy, and also still seeking different models that weren't presented to me in graduate school, because I didn't feel like I had the right tools. And so as I was looking around, I found some really great models that just changed everything for me. And that's when I felt like I became pretty powerful in my work. Not because it's something I invented, but because something other people did.
Right.
So I stand on their shoulders, telling you this great news that I've learned. There's so much helpful information out there.
And you have packaged that and you share it. So that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's my mandate.
You say you marriage crisis manager.
Yes.
So I'm guessing that's the couples like you were, you go in and you're at the end of your rope. When those couples come in, where do you start with those couples?
Well, the reason I created this niche in the first place is because most people when they're in marriage therapy and they say, I think I want a divorce, or I think we want to separate, or whatever, typically the marriage therapist goes, okay, well, bye. And doesn't, and they're getting ready to enter this super stressful, unbelievably scary, freak out dynamic.
Yes.
And so what I learned in my own experience is they should have stuck with us. They should have coached us through it. They should have helped us with all the crazy emotions and all that stuff. So my becoming a marriage crisis manager was postgraduate school. I decided I was going to fill that void and create a place for people to go when they were in that situation. And now, I'm aware of the research. I know what I'm supposed to be doing during that space with couples. So when couples come in, first thing to understand is they're freaking out. They're both, their nervous systems are on high alert. Their brain is telling them they're under threat. They're in the fight, flight, or freeze mode. The person that wants to leave the marriage wants to fly as far away from their partner as they can. And then the other person who wants to save the marriage is in the fight and fix mode.
Right.
So they're chasing after the decider and trying to get them to come back and work on the marriage. And so I've got to stop that dynamic first and foremost is, first of all, and tell them that they're mammals and that their nervous systems are kicked up.
Right.
And people don't make wise decisions when they're in that state of mind. You're incapable of it, in fact. And so we just need to slow this baby down and stabilize the marriage crisis and then see where we are. So there's a period of stabilization and calmness. And I definitely have to get the leaning in partner, the one who wants to save the marriage, to stop chasing and pursuing the decider who's thinking about leaving.
Right. That's interesting. So you say you were divorced in 93?
Yes.
Just something that just came to mind. Now walk with me. I'm sure that 93 was not far from women being liberated and you guys being able to own your own checking account for the first time in 74. Do you think that the psychology then was more geared towards the man and maybe working for the man of the house, so to speak?
Well, I got divorced in Texas, and it's all about the man in Texas. The divorce law is very skewed toward the person who is the primary supporter of the family. And I'm in the younger end of the baby boomer generation, so I was raised in a kind of patriarchal family,
right?
Traditional, dad working and mom not working. Dad educated, mom not, high school education.
Okay.
And so, that's what I grew up with. And so I started off life kind of thinking that's the model I was going to live in. And so then when I was married, I found out that I didn't enjoy being a housewife. It was very torturous for me. And then my brain needed to be more stimulated. And so that was part of my marriage crisis, was I needed to break out and create my own identity as myself, be someone's wife, because I would go to parties and people would look through me like I was invisible. And then they go, oh, you're his wife. Okay. I know who you are. Oh, I hated that.
And from what we've known so far, I can imagine that didn't go over with.
Oh, no. So I made a promise to myself that I was going to create something for myself.
Right.
So, so one of the things I had to consider in my own divorce decision was the man I was married to was extremely successful. He was an orthopedic surgeon and a very popular one. And he made a ton of money. And every year he made a huge amount more than what he made the year before.
Right.
And the Texas laws were going to leave me destitute overnight. And I mean from upper class to lower class overnight. So that was a huge consideration for me. that I wouldn't be getting spousal support, and that the most child support I could hope to get would be about $1,200 a month. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, and I had no career at that time. So,
we recently did an episode about divorcing and the things that you don't think about.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times people are in the midst of things and they're not thinking about, you don't think about the kids and the smaller impact on them. You think about the big impact, but the smaller impact on them. You don't think about with childcare, if you have in-laws who are very involved, are they still going to be very involved? So things like that you don't think about. And I'm still trying to process the Texas laws. I might be people trying to move to Texas.
They're still that way. They're still that way. Now, I'm sure they've raised the amount of child support max but back then, it was up to $6,000. If you have 2 kids, you would get 25% of, I guess, so $1,500 for 2 children. Even if you were Bill Gates and worth billions of dollars, the max they would figure with was $6,000.
Wow.
And my husband was making way more than $6,000 a month.
They made those laws for J.R. Ewing.
You're not kidding. And, I became a marriage therapist in Texas, and I did work with some women who were physicians, for example, or lawyers, very successful people who their husbands were stay-at-home dads.
Oh, wow.
So I saw some of the dads, have to end up destitute. Now, here's the thing. This awakened me to, I'm an evangelist for people not getting themselves in those situations.
Right.
And that before they marry, to make sure they have a plan B where they can support themselves in a middle-class lifestyle at minimum. So that if things don't work out, they don't have those, because you were totally, you put all your eggs in another person's basket, which I think is not very smart. It's not good self-care.
Right.
So that's my other thing is if I could have just hung on a little longer, and because I was starting to go to school, graduate school in communication, prepare myself for a potential divorce, which a lot of people do when they really are so unhappy. But I couldn't finish. I couldn't wait. I had to get out now and finish later.
Yeah.
So when those couples come in and they're in that crisis mode, do they ever decide, okay, we work with you, but we're still going to separate? And then do you continue that support? And what does that support look like?
Well, I created this niche that's new in my field that I invented called marriage crisis management. And it is for those couples in crisis to have oversight by a therapist who is trained in family dynamics and has their entire family's best interest at heart. And so we are overseeing them and settling down the crisis and getting it stabilized, having conversations about, okay, what went wrong in your marriage, and trying to diagnose things and see what's fixable and what isn't, how much damage has been done, what can be repaired if there's possibility for repair. And of course, the people's personalities plays a big part in this. And sometimes I'm dealing with people with major mental disorders. So that will work against us if we're wanting to reconcile, So if one of the partners is just so absolutely sick of their partner, they feel like they're going to die if they don't get away from them, which is how I felt back in 93. Then we orchestrate what I call a managed separation, which is, and the reason I do this is if you're going to separate, don't do it willy-nilly with no rhyme, reason, or purpose or time frame.
Yes.
Right.
So we're doing it as an intervention to try and get the decider who wants to leave the marriage. We're trying to kind of shake them up and make life's going to be difficult when you separate.
Right,
'Cause my
right.
rules for that are very strict.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a divorce, and you're going to try this out before you actually do it. And sometimes people get away from their spouse and their kids, and they realize, oh my God, this is not what I want. I want to miss my family. I want to come back and find a way to save the marriage. But other people love being separated, and I can't get them to change from that.
Right.
And so that's a pretty good indicator after up to 6 months. If they still are not wanting to work on the marriage, that's a pretty good indicator that they should probably split up.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Then we would enter an amicable divorce process.
Okay.
Does that usually work?
Well, it works if they stick with it and follow my very wise instructions. Because when I realized, I used to send people go, okay, well, we've decided, Becky, we want a divorce, and I say, okay, well, make sure you get an amicable divorce, because they all say they want an amicable divorce. Everyone says that.
Yes.
But then I'd hear about it later, and I'd find out that they tore each other up.
Yeah.
And so then I realized that amicable divorce is just a word, but people don't know how to have one. They don't know, how to go about it. So I sat down and created a blueprint for people to follow to make sure that the divorce that they go through is amicable. So in my book, I have instructions on how to do this. And in my practice, I instruct people on how to do this. And I will oversee it, see them through the amicable divorce. And if they do what I tell them, they will have an amicable divorce and probably be able to co-parent with respect and decency.
That's so important, because if you're in a place where you're about to divorce, there's kids involved. I know from experience, as one of those kids, the kid is miserable. But when you split up, if you're still at each other's throats, there's still a level of misery that the kid is going to experience. So it's so important to make sure that those things happen in a certain way so that the kids that are involved don't end up in therapy years later. Trying to process things.
To this day, I have adults who are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old in my office crying about their parents' divorce that was decades ago, or maybe 5 years ago. And I don't care how old you are, it hurts. And bringing new, blended families, new wives and step parents.
Yes.
Painful for people.
Right.
And I just think a lot of people are just in denial about how all these things affect the children. Children typically don't want divorce. It's foisted on them. It's the parent that wants it. And, and so, I have a philosophy that if you're going to foist this on your kids, then you owe it to them to do the best you can to get them through it in the healthiest way.
Yes.
So I educate people about healthy post-divorce dynamics, and then when you start dating and all that stuff and blending people, all the things you need to know about that, because that's a whole nother huge subject. That's there's a lot to know so you can avoid big problems. I'm working with several marriages right now that are about to fall apart because of the blended family dynamics.
Wow. I can't imagine. New humans are different.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine some of the things that that people come to you with trying to work through, because new humans.
Girl. Yeah. My hair is totally white. And I color it about every 7 or 8 days.
I get it. I get it.
Oh my goodness.
It's bad out there.
We recently took a trip to Panama country. And while we were on the plane, we came, Delta has the screens up there. We looked at the flight itinerary, looked at the screen. I was like, So we started watching this show called Couples Therapy.
Oh, yeah.
The flight there and back, we came back and found it and started watching it. And this one particular episode, one season, there's one couple, this guy, he just disappears for, hours at a time. And, his biggest problem is checking in, and it's like, that was one of the things, not the biggest problem, but, one of the biggest things was checking in. He's like, he doesn't, feel like he needs to check in or doesn't feel like he needs to communicate where he is or where he's been. So for those who are having problems with checking in, so to speak, how do you navigate that to a couple?
Well, first of all, the first thing that comes to mind that I want to say about that is marriage is for adults, not children.
Love it.
Marriage is requires sacrifice and thinking of others as much as you think of yourself.
Yes.
So, although I do understand that the male species, in 98% of cases values freedom over everything else.
Yes.
And you should have plenty of freedom in a marriage, and you should have space to take care of your individuality.
Yes.
You still have to do it in consideration of the person that you've signed up as your life partner. And so it depends on what checking in means. I mean, if I'm dealing with a couple where one spouse has a obsessive compulsive disorder, let's say, or an anxious attachment,
yes.
and they have short-term memory, so they need to be reminded, once an hour that you love me and you're thinking about me, or that's not reasonable.
Right.
Those kinds of things aren't reasonable. But, if you're just going to leave the house and not give me a heads up about that, or tell me, what you're doing, or how long you're going to be gone, or even ask me if it's a good time, or when would be a good time for me to go do, then maybe you're not cut out for marriage. I think that, when you say those vows, and I don't know who wrote the wedding vows, love, honor, and cherish, but most of us said those words. Vows. And I think if you break down the words, they pretty much say it all about what is required for a successful marriage. And the respect piece is, but it's like the golden rule too, treating your others like you would want to be treated. I mean, how would you feel if your spouse went out and just disappeared for 4 or 5 hours and didn't tell you where they were, and it's just seems disrespectful and like you're not even considering me. And one of the theories of marriage therapy that I cherish the most is called emotionally focused therapy, created by Sue Johnson from Canada. She died about a year ago this week, and a terrible loss for us. But she said that marriages need 3 things to have a solid foundation, and she felt that solid marriages were totally about attachment. Okay, and so someone who's not checking in is an avoidant attached person. That's a person that's avoiding connection and doesn't want the obligation of having to be there. And it can be okay to be avoidant, but it can also be a terrible disability depending on how it's playing out.
Yes.
But she said that you've got that the number one thing a couple has to have is accessibility to have a solid foundation. And that is, I know you're there for me. I know you will be there for me. If I need you, you'll be there. I reach out for you and you come. And so when someone's not checking in, it's not conducive to the accessibility.
Right.
And just in case anyone else is wondering about the foundation thing, the other 2 that are required is responsiveness. If I ask you, hey, would you please tell me where you're going and how long you'll be gone, that you're responsive to my reasonable request.
Yes.
Now, if you're asking me to call you every hour throughout the workday, that's not reasonable.
Right.
So I should be responsive to your reasonable requests. And then the third one is engagement. Like you're into me, you're into what I'm doing, I'm into you. and into what you're doing, and I'm interested in you. And you can tell when a couple's engaged, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can tell when a couple's disengaged.
Right.
Right.
In the restaurants that are just sitting there chewing their food and not even looking at each other talking.
Yeah.
I tell you,
know?
my students, this was last Friday. They asked me, they said, Miss Mackey, what are you doing this weekend? And I said, nothing. I said, my husband's off, so we'll hang out. And one of them said, you like your husband? And
Are you kidding me?
They were stunned. They were
what a telling
stunned.
phrase.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was like, yeah, we like each other. We hang out. And then one of them says, you like him, but does he like you? He does. So it was very telling.
I have a test question I ask single men, about when they're dating and stuff. And I say, ask yourself the question, if she was a dude, would you want to hang out with her?
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So many guys go, what? Maybe not. You know? And I'm like, well, that's the friendship test.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
In friendship, like if you truly enjoy the content of their character and their personality, and y'all like doing some of the same things together, then it doesn't matter what gender they are, right? I mean,
right,
exactly.
But so and I tell dudes, if you marry a woman that resents fishing and hunting, and you are a fisherman and a hunter, that sounds like a bad idea. You can find a woman who loves fishing and hunting. I'm telling you, you can. And one that you're attracted to.
Right.
Well, at least try.
Right.
Give me at least try.
At least try.
I love cars and music. That's and we love comedy. That's our thing.
Yeah.
But we also have separate interests, and we support each other through those. But that's one of the things that we stand strong on, is that friendship and making sure you like each other. Because if I didn't like him, well, you would know instantly. You would know instantly. And who wants to wake up next to someone they don't like every day?
And you've got to think that if you're going to do these things that couples are supposed to do, even if you don't know it, but ideally, like if you're going to travel together, if you're going to raise children together, you have to have some sort of a connection in order for it to be successful. Now, you can do those things without liking each other, just go through the motions. But in order for it to be successful, you have to have that foundation.
Absolutely. It's that, to me, that's the glue that keeps it together over the long haul. But you're not always going to be one swinging from the chandeliers,
Right.
That period of time usually dies out after 3 years for most couples. I mean, I've heard some where they've had it for 20 years, but not that many. Very few will report that. So what's left after the limerence or, passion feelings die down? The research shows that it's the oxytocin that remains, which is sort of like human purring. You sit next to somebody and you just feel this wonderful, comfy vibe.
Yes.
And it's that cuddle hormone that a baby feels after finishing its bottle in its mom's arms. Your spouse gives you after the passion feelings die down. Not that you never ever have them again, but they're not constant, and that particular hormone is what keeps people together over the long haul, and that friendship.
Man, to hear her talk about her marriage and, her going through her divorce and how crazy the laws are in Texas, man, that's something else.
Right. I think that, to hear her story, it's almost opposite of what you think. She said that the divorce led her to research more about how relationships work. And then as a marriage and family therapist, she works largely with people who are on the verge of being divorced.
Yeah.
And so that's not what you think. You tend to think, of course, people tend to see therapists when there's something that they're working on. But she works with couples who are almost adamant that they're going to split.
Yep.
The managed separation, to actually work with individuals and require that they're separate, so they get a taste of what divorce will be like, but still in a setting where they have support. So I think that what she's doing is so important, and like I said, sprinkled with a little sass, a little Julia Sugarbaker type feel going on. So we can't wait to see what else she has in store for us.
Yeah.
So before crisis mode, when things start to happen, what are some things to look for to prevent getting to that crisis mode?
Ooh, I love that question. I'm on a mission of teaching people how to know when things are headed downward and when they should go to marriage therapy. And so here it is. There's 5 stages of a dying marriage. First stage is disillusionment. That's when you go, I think I'm unhappy. And then you're talking to yourself. You're going, well, I know marriages have ups and downs, so I'll just see how it goes. And then a little time passes, and then it comes back into your awareness that you're still unhappy and it's serious. So that's erosion. Erosion is like, I am unhappy. I am seriously unhappy, and this could lead to divorce. But, oh, my God, I'm not going to get a divorce. Quickly dismiss the idea of divorce.
Okay.
So stage 2 is when you're headed for serious trouble, and you will have a marriage crisis eventually if you don't stop it right there. So that's like stage 2 cancer. You know, you don't, once it gets to 3 or 4, whether you're going to live or die, the odds are really dicey.
Right.
You know, you catch it at number 2. And so I'm telling couples at number 2, when you say, I am seriously unhappy, this could lead to divorce. Oh, no, I don't want a divorce. Call a marriage therapist and tell your spouse that you're struggling in the marriage. This is what 95% of couples do not do. They're struggling in the marriage. They're really becoming unhappy, and they never tell their spouse.
Right. But they'll tell everybody else.
And in happy couples, you know, all the research shows that I got a problem with the mister, I come in and talk to him about it. Couples that you predict divorce, they don't deal with their stuff, and they go this way. And they have these internal conversations of unhappiness. They don't share them with anybody.
Right.
So we want people to be in touch with each other.
Yes.
And comfortable enough to say, hey, babe, I'm struggling in our marriage.
Right. Right. And if you can't do that, that's it's a red flag in and of itself.
People can have sex, they can have babies.
Right.
You know, they can have knockdown dragouts, but they can't tell the other person how unhappy they are and that they're struggling.
Right.
It's just a human phenomenon that is mind-blowing. I've got a guy I'm working with right now, been married 30 years, has college-age kids. He is talking to me because he's thinking about divorcing his wife, and he has never told her that he's unhappy at all.
Wow.
And I'm telling him, like, you know, I know you pretty sure you want a divorce, but if you drop a bomb on her without giving a heads up or a chance to make it right, she is going to treat you like the villain in a big way for the rest of your life, and your kids will too. Your kids won't forgive you for doing that to their mother.
And also, how miserable of an existence is that, because you feel this way, but you're outwardly presenting like things are okay. And it's got to be mentally draining for himself.
Right.
I don't know if you ever took a Psych 101 class, but if you did, they teach you cognitive dissonance.
Yes.
Cognitive dissonance is acting one way but feeling another, you know, not in congruence with your feelings and actions. Yes. And it is a miserable, terrible feeling that causes depression, anxiety, and breaks people's health down to live life that way.
Wow.
And then I couldn't imagine being married for all that time, and then to have that dropped, that's yeah, I couldn't imagine how
spouse
that
will
wife
be
would.
outraged.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. And I would imagine hurt because
Oh,
you couldn't
it's
come to me, and
Yeah. How long
angry,
you been feeling this
hurt.
way? Yeah.
Oh yeah, angry, hurt,
Mm.
and it happens all the time.
mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I learned when I was researching this dynamic was there's a book I think it came out in 1980 or something like this, really old now. It's called Uncoupling, written by Diane Vaughn, a sociologist. And her husband left her after 20 years, dropped the bomb on her, and it freaked her out like mine did me. And she went and did the first research on this dynamic of marriage crisis. And this one line in her book that starts one of the chapters just sent chills down my spine. And it was, uncoupling begins with a secret.
Mm.
I was like, and
Wow.
the secret is I'm unhappy in my marriage.
Yes. Wow.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's a lot. That's it's simple, but it's very profound because that's going to grow.
Yeah.
It is
gonna
like
grow.
a cancer cell.
Right.
And
Right.
the way it grows is you start getting more and more irritated, and and you think about it more and more. It
Yeah.
becomes
Right.
more and more urgent, in your thinking, and it's bothering you more and more and more.
Mm.
And that's why eventually people reach a crux of what they can tolerate.
Right.
And that's called the straw that breaks the camel's back, when the person just goes, that's it.
Yeah.
And usually at that time, they either tell their spouse they're happy and thinking of divorce, or they make a plan to do that in the coming months or period of time.
Right.
Mm. Wow. One thing that I come across just recently was it was in a men's group that I'm a part of on Facebook, and the man said that he discovered his wife was cheating, had an affair, and he was definitely not willing to take her back. He was like, I'm done, totally done with the relationship. And I know sometimes women are in that situation with their husbands, and women are more forgiving in that situation. So what would you tell a young man who was like, that's it, she cheated on me, I'm done? What would you tell a young husband in that situation?
I would tell him that, number one, 75% of marriages survive infidelity and actually become stronger and better afterwards if dealt with properly. And and so those of you out there that are afraid of marriage therapists, or you think we have nothing to offer, I think you'll get a big surprise if you will go get some professional guidance in those kinds of situations.
Right.
But, often cheating usually happens for one of two reasons. Either the person's a sex addict and they have a compulsion that's, driving it, and that's about 5% of the population. And the other 95% of the population, the person has become unhappy in the marriage because they're not getting their needs met, the person's not treating them right, whatever it is. And they may have tried to get their spouse to, hey, start treating me right or whatever, and the spouse wasn't responsive. So then they lose hope. And when they lose hope, then their spouse becomes vulnerable to someone who's kind, and who validates them and listens to them, all that kind of stuff. So most cheating is not a black and white thing. It happens in the context of a story, and often the story is one of neglect, disrespect, and so I would ask him, like, what is your part in it?
Right.
What is your part in it? And sometimes this situation is just a sign and a symptom of how bad your marriage was at the time. And maybe you can go to therapy now and correct those things and be stronger and better than ever before. But I would also tell the young man that most of us say, if my spouse ever cheats, that's it. I won't give him another chance.
Yeah.
But you never
But
know.
most people do. And most
Right.
people do give their spouse another chance. And so if you're one of those stick to it people, then I'm not backing down. Like Tom Petty said, I'll back me up to the gates of hell. I won't back down. I love that song. Then you need to look at your pride and ego.
Right.
I think that pride and ego takes down a lot of marriages unnecessarily. And I actually write a whole passage about that in my book and tell the story of a man whose wife cheated on him and he refused to get past it and he shamed her and made her life miserable for 2 years. She came to me with him and she said, Becky, like I've done everything to try and, make this right. And the husband said stuff like, you embarrassed me. I can't live with this. The only reason I'm with you is our children. Well, of course they ended up getting divorced. But this was an example of some man who's in pride and ego is immature stuff, y'all.
Right.
It's not adult stuff.
Right.
It's not adult stuff. And, adults can, deal with difficult things and make lemonade out of lemons if given the opportunity. So I would say, maybe, sir, young man in the Facebook group, you have some growing up to do. And I would want to know the context of the story.
Right, definitely.
I mean, maybe she's a drunk and a sex addict, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And he's probably doing the right thing.
So we've talked a lot about what it looks like once it's getting towards the end. What do you suggest we do in the beginning to prevent getting to these places?
I think that people don't realize that first of all, once again, marriage is for adults, and adults practice self-care as an important priority in their life. And that means mind, body, spirit. And so they also do this for their marriage so that they may bring their best self to the marriage.
Yes.
A lot of people I work with are bringing their worst self to the marriage and showing their best self to their friends, their coworkers.
Yes. Oh, yes.
They come home and bring their toxic self, bad mood, not even trying to be pleasant in the home. And so I think understanding that it's your responsibility to control your moods, to edit yourself and be diplomatic and kind intentionally in the marriage, and don't just come home and flop it out like you would with your siblings. All of us, most of us, at least in America, have toxic relationships with our siblings. Like we just tell them whatever, get out of here. You can't treat your spouse that way and expect them to want to stay with you over the life term.
Right. Yes. Nobody wants to wake up next to someone they don't like every day.
Yep. That's a horrible.
Or that doesn't like them.
People tell me literally almost daily they don't know who's going to come through the door from work, Mr. or Miss Charming and good mood, or ogre. That's unacceptable. And that's unacceptable.
Right.
Yes, definitely.
We all have bad days.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Well, if I'm in a bad day deal, I just go to my husband and I believe in this statement of saying, what's going on with me and what do I need? Because when a child's having a tantrum and they're in a bad mood, something's going on with them and they have a need. But a child emotes that, like, they throw tantrums because they don't know how to express what's going on with them and what they need.
Right.
Adults can do this.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
But instead they act like the child and they emote and they brood and they give their spouse the silent treatment and they pout and carry on like a child. When I'm having a bad day and I've just reached the end of what I can tolerate, I'll tell my husband, hey, it's a bad day for Becky. She's at the end of what she can tolerate. So see, I'm telling him what's going on with me.
Right.
I've had to solve so many problems today, and I can't solve any more problems today. I have no more hard drive. Okay. So unless here now I'm going to tell him what I need. So unless you're really, really nice to me, then I shouldn't probably hang out. Like, don't ask me any financial questions today. Don't ask me how to fix your computer glitch.
Yeah.
You know, I just need to be left alone or be really nice to me. And I said, I'll be happy to leave the room. You know, and he'll go, oh no, I can be nice to you, you know. So I think, you know, tell your spouse what's going on with you, what you need, and instead of emoting it like a kindergarten child.
Right.
Wow,
that's the big problem is people are immature in their relationships.
Right.
Yeah, and it's sometimes that people don't realize it's just that easy. Like, you know,
right.
It's such a hard thing to do, but just you express yourself, you tell them how you're feeling, and you know how are we going to work together on this? Whether you need 30 minutes or an hour, well, I'll leave you alone for about an hour. I'll come back. You know.
Well, you know, one of the plights of many people who have childhood trauma, which all of us have childhood trauma that causes us to be disabled in certain areas in our relationships. Well, a lot of those people don't know how to ask for help. They think they should just take care of their problems themselves.
Right.
I should handle it myself. And you're in a marriage. One of the benefits of that is being able to bring your problems to your partner and lean on them. Let them be that safe shelter, you know, from the storm. It should be a comfort to you. But so many people just keep their misery and suffering to themselves. And my husband did this. And I came home about 5 years ago and found him on the floor having a stroke. Wow. And he told me that in the days prior to his stroke, he'd been having sleepless nights, waking up, worrying about things. And he never once told me about it.
Oh, wow.
You know, and I think men are especially terrible at this. Women,
absolutely.
Here's my problems. I'm telling you my problems.
Right.
Men are, you know, notoriously stoic, you know, but it's just living proof that it kills you.
Right.
You know, it kills you at the cellular level when you don't ask other people for help or assistance or let me lean on you. I've got problems. Can you help me? So, that's the codependent thing is not wanting to ask people for help.
Now, Dr. Becky, me and you was all right till you just stepped on my toes. So.
I thank you.
Are you a stoic man?
I'm learning. I'm learning to be better about that. I am.
Well, we want to know what's going on with you and what
right.
I know.
You can't fix everything.
I know. Just to fix it. Just to fix it. Yeah.
I just wonder what all you guys are thinking about too when you're being stoic. Like what that conversation with yourself must be like.
Most of the time, it's it's this issue, and I don't want to bother her with it because she has stuff going on. So I'm gonna try to handle it myself, and that's what I think everybody deals with. And I've talked to guys, and that is the sentiment.
Well, I had a very wise professor in graduate school he's like a little mini Buddha, you know, telling us these nuggets of wisdom. And he told us that that's kind of a syndrome of many humans. And he said to the class, don't y'all love helping a friend in need? Doesn't that make you feel good? And we go, yeah, we do love being there for people when they ask. He goes, well, why don't you give people the opportunity to do that for you? And the other thing is people will say, Becky, is there anything I can do for you? Can I help you? And if you tell people no more than 2 times, they're not going to ask again. And you've missed an opportunity for bonding and connection. And the human experience,
right?
And people bond over being there for each other.
That's true. You're right.
And so it's considered not to be relational to sit there and think that your problem is a bother to someone else when their problems are not a bother to you.
Right.
Now, if someone has too many problems, they can be a bother to you.
Right.
If they bring you, there are people out there that bring you every damn problem.
Right. Right.
But, in balance,
Yes.
I want to be there for you, and I want you to be there for me. That's what being relational is the give and take. If you're just taking care of everything yourself, then you're not being relational. But the other thing is if you think you're a bother to someone, then you might want to look at your self-esteem, because almost like you're not valuing yourself enough, that you are important enough for someone to stop and be there for you.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say to anyone. And I know many people do have that problem.
Yeah. Sound like I got some powerful tools to take back to work with me. Tell guys.
You're not going to send me some angry texts later on.
Oh my God.
This has been awesome.
To you all day. I mean, you have just like filled us with
been awesome
knowledge and wisdom.
Y'all are just so fun to talk to. You really are. You ask great questions.
If you could tell us your website and tell us the name of your book. You've referenced it a couple of times, but if you could tell us the name of your book, tell us your website, so we make sure that the listeners know where to find you, because there's more good stuff there.
Yes.
Yes. My website is marriagecrisismanager.com. And my book is I Think I Want Out: What to Do When One of You Wants to End Your Marriage. Awesome. I will say it's also for people who just want to know how to prevent a marriage crisis.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we have truly, truly enjoyed this, and we thank you for your time, for your expertise. Like I said, we are following your blog and learning all that we can, and we appreciate this.
Thank you so much. Yes, your listeners, check out my blog, because I'm trying to download everything I've ever learned in my life there before I die. So it's all free.
And we hope that's no
time soon. Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, man, that was wonderful. That was inspiring. That was impactful. I mean, I just want to hug her through the screen.
Yeah.
Like,
and we've met so many people doing this, and we've learned so much, and we've experienced meeting people who are, have done great things, but I'm just in awe of the work that she's put into this.
Yes.
We have to make sure to include the link to her blog. There's so much good information.
Yes. So fun. So much wonderful knowledge.
And she's a trip.
Yeah,
she's a trip. I think we could hang out and have a good time.
Yeah, I think so too. And y'all, trust me, the information that she's giving, we taking it in too.
Right. And like she said, she said, I'm trying to get as much on there as possible before I die. And we don't want that to be anytime soon.
Definitely.
We don't want that to be anytime soon.
We need to cover her with whatever we need to cover with.
Right.
Yes. So until next time, we will holler at y'all.